welcome to Texas Workforce Solutions Vocational Rehabilitation Services, an introduction to transition services. Vocational rehabilitation, or VR services, are designed to help people with disabilities obtain and maintain employment that is consistent with their strengths, interests, abilities, and aptitudes. These services are eligibility-based and tailored to the individual. They're not intended to be emergency services, and while they're not time-limited, they're also not intended to be provided long-term. They are arranged and provided by a vocational rehabilitation counselor, or VRC, with consideration for individual choice. Eligibility is determined with the four following criterion. The person must have a physical or mental impairment. The impairment must constitute or result in a substantial impediment to employment. The customer must require VR services to prepare for, enter into, engage in, or advance in competitive integrated employment. And finally, the customer must be able to achieve an employment outcome, unless pre-eligibility trial work experiences demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that the customer cannot achieve an employment outcome because of the severity of the disability. Transition services are a subset of vocational rehabilitation services for those individuals aged 14 to 22. Transition services are provided to help students with disabilities move from high school to successful work and independent living. VR provides these services to students while they are attending high school, so they'll be prepared when they exit. In most cases, the services provided to students with disabilities fall into one of these 5 pre-employment transition services, or Pre-ETS categories: career exploration, work-based learning, counseling on post-secondary opportunities, job readiness, or self-advocacy. Note, vocational rehabilitation services continue to be available after high school if necessary. Vocational rehabilitation counselors fall into 2 categories. We have transition vocational rehabilitation counselors, or TVRCs, which are assigned to various schools and spend most of their time on school campuses. We also have general vocational rehabilitation counselors, or VRCs, which have general caseloads and high school liaison assignments. Many students with disabilities were leaving secondary school without competitive, integrated employment or being enrolled in post-secondary education, and there is a need to support such students as they transition from school to post-secondary life. WIOA, or the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, emphasizes transition and youth services throughout Title IV. WIOA changes the way transition services are provided through vocational rehabilitation. VR programs are required to spend 15% of their funding allocation on Pre-ETS services to eligible and potentially eligible students with disabilities. Pre-ETS are intended to provide exposure to the concepts and experiences related to building skills for work and independent living, and are therefore more effective when started early. WIOA also introduced a new eligibility status, potentially eligible, as a means to give access to pre-ETS activities. Some individuals will be able to participate as potentially eligible. They must meet the definition of a student with a disability, and it's not intended to circumvent the VR process. When it is realized that other services are needed, an application for services must be completed. Services to this population are limited to pre-employment transition services. So, how do you get started? Work with your VR assigned counselor to refer students for services. If you aren't sure who the counselor is, call your nearest Texas Workforce Solutions VR offices or your area's regional transition specialist. Their contact information will be on the next slide. You can also visit the website, email our VR office locator, or call the following number, 512-936-6400, to be connected to VR staff. The counselor will schedule appointments at the school, in a Workforce Solutions office, or at other locations to complete an application for services. The counselor will discuss the VR process with students and parents, which includes determining eligibility and, if eligible, assessment and planning for services. The state is divided into 6 regions, so locate the office and regional transition specialist, which is closest to you, for more information. We also have a state office transition team with staff members that are always willing and able to assist you with questions as they come up. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope this information was helpful. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any additional questions or comments.